It was a Tuesday morning, one of those crisp autumn days where the sun cuts through the cold like a knife. I remember it clearly because everything felt too perfect, too damn perfect. Rachel had just left for work, and I was leaning against the kitchen counter, sipping my coffee and thinking about how good things were. Or at least, how good I thought they were. Then my phone buzzed. It wasn't unusual for me to get messages early, but this one was different. It came from an unknown number. "I think you deserve to know what Rachel's been up to." My pulse quickened as I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the notification. I didn't reply right away, but I couldn't ignore it either. Curiosity, suspicion, and dread mingled in my chest. After a minute, I opened the message. Attached was a photo. Rachel, but not the Rachel I knew. She was sitting in a dimly lit bar, leaning way too close to some guy I didn't recognize. His hand rested on her thigh like it belonged there, and her smile, it wasn't the same smile I'd seen 1,000 times. It was something different. Something meant for him, not me. My hand shook as I stared at the photo. It felt like a sledgehammer had hit me in the gut. This wasn't an innocent misunderstanding. This was betrayal. A neatly wrapped bomb dropped into my lap. For a second, I wanted to believe it was some kind of cruel joke, but I knew better. Deep down, I had sensed something was wrong for weeks: the late-night work trips, her phone glued to her hand, the too quick excuses. I had ignored it all, convincing myself it was nothing. But that picture? It tore the blinders off. I couldn't confront her with just one photo. No, I needed more. I had to be sure. So, I called in sick to work and spent the entire day digging through everything: her social media, emails, credit card statements. Each new discovery added fuel to the fire. Then, I hit the jackpot: a hotel receipt from the previous weekend, a hotel she definitely hadn't mentioned. And there it was, the guy's name right on the bill. It felt like watching a slow-motion train wreck. Her double life unfolded before me, and I couldn't stop staring, couldn't stop torturing myself with every new detail. By the time she got home that evening, my mind was spinning, but I didn't let on. I kissed her on the cheek, asked how her day had been. She smiled and fed me the same rehearsed lines I'd heard 1,000 times before. And the worst part? She was so damn good at it. But the game was on now. I wasn't going to explode. Not yet. I needed more. I needed to let her dig her own grave. Over the next few days, I watched her closely but didn't make a single wrong move. Every smile I gave her, every casual conversation we had, was laced with my hurt and anger. But I didn't let her see it. I couldn't afford to tip her off. Her patterns became predictable. She'd slip into the bedroom, claiming she was tired from work, but always with her phone in hand. If I walked in, she'd quickly switch screens or lock it, flashing me that same fake smile, the one that used to melt me but now made me sick. I started testing her, pushing her to see how far the lies would go. One night, I told her I had to work late, made up some excuse about a project that needed my attention. She barely reacted. Just a simple, "Okay, babe, good luck." Like she was relieved I wouldn't be home. But I wasn't working. I drove across town, parked in the dark, and waited. My heart pounded, nervous anticipation coursing through me. Then, around 9 p.m., I got the message I'd been expecting: heading to bed early. Sweet dreams. Yeah, right. I raced back home, my pulse hammering. My plan was simple. I wasn't going to burst in and catch her in the act. I needed proof, cold, undeniable proof. I had set up an old phone as a security camera in the guest house just days earlier, a desperate move, but I didn't care. Through the tiny screen, I watched her stroll into our bedroom, relaxed, as if nothing in the world could touch her. 15 minutes after that goodnight text, she slipped into her sexiest black dress, the one she wore on our anniversary, and left without a second thought. My stomach dropped. There it was. No more guessing. No more hoping I was wrong. It was real. Every betrayal, every late-night excuse, it all came crashing down in that moment. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I decided I'd follow her this time. Tailing her carefully, I kept my distance but never lost sight. She drove across town and pulled into a small boutique hotel, the same one from the receipt. My blood boiled, but I stayed calm. Rushing in wouldn't do any good. I needed undeniable proof that would blow her web of lies apart. From my car, I watched them meet in the hotel lobby, greeting each other like an old couple. The rage was so strong I could taste it, but I didn't move. I wasn't ready to act yet. That moment was coming soon. Very soon. And just like that, I had my proof. I pulled out my phone and started recording, the way they touched each other, the way her face lit up in his presence. It wasn't Rachel. Not the Rachel I married. Not the Rachel I gave my life to. The drive home was silent. No screaming. No crying. I didn't even punch the steering wheel. I just planned. Every step. Every word I'd say when the time came. It would be glorious. She had no idea what was waiting for her. I knew I couldn't keep up the act for long. The truth was a ticking time bomb inside me, and every smile or I love you from Rachel felt like another needle in my chest. But I wanted the confrontation to be perfect, explosive, undeniable. And I was getting closer. That Saturday morning, she woke up in an unusually cheerful mood. She bounced into the kitchen wearing my old hoodie, humming a song she always played when she was in a good mood. The same woman who had been sneaking out at night, living another life, was now standing there like everything was normal. "Hey, babe, let's have a lazy day today," she said, grinning at me over her coffee. "I've been so busy at work, I just want to chill with you." I stared at her for a moment, almost admiring how effortlessly she could lie. But that admiration was quickly replaced by something colder. I forced a smile. "Sounds good. Let me just finish up a few things first." I went to the bedroom, pretending to grab my laptop, but what I was really doing was setting everything in motion. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with the anticipation of what was about to happen. I scrolled through the video on my phone one last time, making sure the angles were clear, the audio perfect. Then, I smiled to myself. This was it. When I returned to the living room, Rachel was already sprawled out on the couch, flipping through TV channels, acting like the perfect wife. I sat down beside her, my hands almost trembling with excitement. "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something," I started, keeping my tone casual. She looked up, a little distracted but smiling, completely oblivious. "Sure, what's up?" I locked eyes with her, and I could see the exact moment when she sensed something was off. Her smile faltered for a split second, but then recovered quickly. "You've been working really hard lately, haven't you?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "Yeah, it's been crazy," she replied, relaxing a bit. "But things are finally calming down. That promotion was a big deal, you know. It's taken up a lot of my time." I nodded slowly, then pulled my phone from my pocket, scrolling for a second before looking her dead in the eyes. The air between us thickened. "Funny thing about that. I actually wanted to congratulate you on your promotion again," I said, my voice low but steady. She smiled, clearly relieved that the conversation seemed to be going somewhere pleasant. "Ah, thanks, babe. I know it's been." "Then I figured we could watch something together," I interrupted, turning the phone screen toward her. "Like this." The second her eyes locked onto the screen, her face drained of color. I watched her as the video played, the hotel lobby, the way she hugged him, the way they kissed like no one else in the world mattered. Her eyes went wide, her mouth opening slightly, but no words came out. She froze, completely blindsided. I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I leaned back, letting the silence suffocate her. "Explain?" I asked, almost amused. "Please, Rachel, I'm all ears." She fumbled for words, reaching for some excuse, but nothing was coming. Her confident, composed self shattered in an instant. "It's not what it looks like," she started, but I cut her off with a cold laugh. Not what it looks like. I repeated, my voice rising. You're telling me it's not you sneaking off to a hotel with him? It's not you kissing another man when you're supposed to be at work meetings? I have the ****ing video, Rachel. What are you going to say next? That it's just a misunderstanding? She blinked, still struggling to find her footing, but I didn't let her. I leaned forward, close enough to see the panic in her eyes, and whispered, let's see how you explain this in court. Her face twisted, and suddenly, like a switch had flipped, she stopped pretending. The soft, panicked tone disappeared, and her eyes narrowed. So what? She snapped, her voice sharp now. You think you can throw this in my face, and I'll beg for forgiveness? You've been so clueless for months, and now you're the victim? Please. I froze for a second, taken aback by her sudden change in attitude. It wasn't fear or guilt anymore. It was anger, pure, ugly anger. Don't act like you didn't push me to this, she continued, standing up and tossing the hoodie on the couch. You've been checked out for ages. Always at work, always distracted. I needed someone, and guess what? I found him. It was like watching a mask fall off, revealing a person I never wanted to see. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't apologizing. She was trying to justify it, to turn the blame on me, as if this was my fault. You're unbelievable, I muttered, shaking my head. She shrugged like she didn't care anymore. Believe what you want, but I'm not the one who killed this marriage. You did. I stood there, stunned. She wasn't just a liar, she was twisting the knife. But what she didn't realize was that this was exactly what I needed. Her true self, her real, unfiltered self, was all the proof I needed to finally walk away from this disaster. Her words hung in the air like poison, seeping into every corner of my mind. You killed this marriage. It was almost laughable. I stood there, barely able to recognize the woman spitting venom at me. There was no remorse, no regret, just a twisted attempt to justify her betrayal. But in that moment, something clicked inside me. Any trace of doubt or confusion was gone. This was war now. I sat back down on the couch, trying to contain the storm brewing inside me. I couldn't let her see how much she'd gotten to me, not yet. She paced, crossing her arms, throwing out lines like, you were never home or you didn't care about me, as if those were reasons to tear apart what we had built. But I stayed calm, cold, even. So that's it, huh? I finally said, breaking the silence. This whole time, you've been lying to my face, sneaking around, and now you want to blame me for it. She shot me a look of frustration mixed with disgust. It's not just about sneaking around. You don't get it. You stopped paying attention to me. You stopped being there for me. What did you expect? For me to just sit around and wait for you to notice? I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. So you thought sleeping with another guy would fix that? That's your answer? Rachel rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, leaning against the wall as if this conversation bored her. You think it's all about that, don't you? Like everything would have been fine if I hadn't cheated. Don't sugarcoat it, Rachel. You didn't find someone, you didn't need someone, you cheated. Just call it what it is. She flinched for a split second, but then her expression hardened. She wasn't going to back down. Yeah, I cheated, fine. But you pushed me to it. You think I wanted to find someone else? No. But I didn't have a choice. My heart pounded as the anger surged through me. No choice? You're standing here blaming me for the fact that you couldn't keep your legs closed? That's rich, Rachel. I was there for you every damn day. I supported your career, your dreams, and this is how you pay me back. By screwing some guy in a hotel room and blaming it on me? Her face twisted with frustration, but the fire in her eyes was fading. She could see I wasn't buying her excuses anymore. I was pushing back, and she wasn't ready for that. I never asked for this, she snapped. I didn't want it to get this far, okay? But it happened, and you. No, Rachel, I cut her off, stepping closer. You chose this. You made the decision to lie, to sneak around, to betray me. Don't you dare stand there and act like you're the victim. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. For the first time in this whole mess, she looked uncertain, like the ground beneath her was finally starting to crack. I pressed on, fueled by the months of suspicion, the weeks of betrayal, the days of planning for this moment. You know what the worst part is? I said, my voice quieter now but dripping with bitterness. I trusted you. Even when things felt off, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I thought maybe I was being paranoid, that you'd never do this. But I was wrong. You were already gone, I was just too blind to see it. She swallowed hard, her defenses crumbling as she realized she had lost control of the narrative. I could see the gears turning in her head, searching for a way out of this, but there was none. Not anymore. I don't know what you want me to say, she muttered, her voice barely audible now. The confidence, the arrogance, it was all fading. I'm sorry, okay? I messed up, but you weren't perfect either, I almost laughed at how pathetic her apology sounded. There was no sincerity in it, just a half-hearted attempt to save face, to salvage whatever tiny shred of power she thought she had left. I don't want your apology, I said, my voice cold as ice. Not anymore. I pulled out my phone again and opened the video, the same one that had shattered my world just days before. I already have everything I need, Rachel. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack your things, and you're going to leave. Today. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. Wait, what? You're kicking me out? Just like that? Yes, I said without hesitation. Just like that. She started to stammer, her voice shaky. But where am I supposed to go? I don't care, I cut her off, the finality in my tone unmistakable. You made your choices, Rachel. Now you live with them. There was a long, tense silence as she stood there, processing what I had just said. She looked around the room, as if seeing it for the last time, knowing that everything she had built here was slipping away. I watched her crumble bit by bit, as the reality of the situation finally set in. This was it. She had lost. Fine, she muttered, her voice hollow. I'll go. Rachel stood there for a moment, frozen, her face a twisted mix of disbelief and anger. I could see her mind racing, trying to grasp how everything had spiraled out of control so fast. It was like the weight of her lies had finally crashed down on her, and for the first time, she realized there was no talking her way out of this. No more excuses. No more manipulation. Just consequences. She looked at me one last time, her eyes flickering with desperation, but I wasn't backing down. Not anymore.